very shortly before we ended, you'd all gotten the shaft. Or rather, you'd all gone down a shaft, which some crossbow bolts had come up. And you had made a deal with a certain floating, talking skull. I am Death, the most powerful and awesome marchlet you will ever meet. Death! Death, I tell you. Did I mention I am Death? And Death had agreed in return for your getting him out of this place, to accompany you and perhaps even provide running commentary. But he did sort of warn you that there were things he didn't know. But one of the things he told you, in this room that you now find yourselves in at the bottom of the shaft, which is a 20-foot wide, 40-foot long, stone-lined room with a pair of absolutely magnificent metal doors, pair of double doors, at the far end. And by the way, these metal double doors are closed. There's no sign of anybody else in the room except all of yourselves. You've all gathered in the room. And you do notice something. The floor between you and at the base of the shaft and the far end of the room where the doors are, the floor seems to be newly laid. As in, the slabs of stone look fresh. Fresher than the walls and fresher than any stone underfoot you've seen in your little journey through this, what is presumably a subterranean labyrinth because of the damp and earthy smells. You figure you're underground. And that's about it. And the skull has warned you that there's some sort of trap in this room, which it's never seen, but it does involve loud, crashing, booming, crashing noises.
Well, I've already experienced a crossbow bolt or two in my general direction, and having gained something of a bearing on the kind of place this is, I'm guessing these recently laid tiles, well, one should probably stand on them with a little trepidation. Now, I'm not the kind of man that's afraid of standing on a freshly laid tile. I've been to many cities where roads have been laid out in that very same format, and I have expressed no fear whatsoever. But I've now experienced enough in our short time in this subterranean labyrinth, or dungeon, you might say, to make me hesitate. Well, not hesitate. Reflect. I think reflect is a better word, on the fact that some of these tiles are probably going to be quite dangerous to stand upon. That's, in brief, my summary.
You're going to stand on them with trepidation, and perhaps even your feet.
Well, all three, if I can manage it, but it does take quite some leaning.
Well, I will scratch my chin a little and look to Lashanta and say, well, my friend, I do think Berilgar has a point. What are your thoughts?
Are there any, if it's freshly lit, are there any debris? Is it just clean?
The room smells of mildew. There's no furniture. The only debris was, at one point, you dropped a coin down the shaft to listen for the depth of the shaft by waiting to see how long it took for the clink of its landing. Or, it might have been a ploop if there'd been water there, but in this case, there was a clink. Your coin is lying there, but other than that, there's nothing else in the room.
I say, Lash, strange, because our dear skull friend here suggested that there was someone down here moments ago firing crossbow bolts at us, and now they seem to have vacated.
Well, there is this double door at the other end of the room.
But that is beyond the tiles, you see. So I'm looking around, so that's definitely the only exit. There's those two doors, and we have these lovely tiles. When I look at the tiles, do they all just look like a uniform grey?
Yes, they look like a uniform grey.
No etchings or patterns?
Nope, they look like oiled granite, as in they've been carved in a quarry somewhere, and then somebody has poured oil over them so it has soaked in, turned them a shade darker than the fresh-cut stone.
Well, if only if one of us had any kind of a weapon with some reach might be... Skull, dear.
Unfortunately, lady, I lack a weapon with reach. I once had one.
Ah, yes, I think we
Yes,
can
yes,
tell
yes.
where that's going.
Do you know what's happened with these tiles? Do you know?
Well, these are freshly laid tiles. It's almost as if there's a welcoming committee.
And what would that welcoming committee be?
I am Death, but I am just a skull. And I don't travel much. I have my station where I faithfully guarded. So I don't know.
But, Tashram, you have that flail. It has a bit of reach to it. Why not try striking a couple of the tiles up ahead,
Yes,
you know?
tap and go, exactly.
That is a most good idea, Beauregard, as always. Was always a most intelligent individual. Wonderful. Yes, okay, well, I'll go first. I will get out my flail, swinging around the end. I will very carefully move forward, not actually, like, stepping forward, like I stay where we are standing, but I would just try, and the very first tile, let's say, not the tile in front of me, but the tile 2 from me, I will try and whack it.
And I will get in a defensive position, just in case things go flying.
The flail crashes down on the stone. It makes the usual sort of sound of a flail landing heavily with force on stone. You hear a normal sound. Your flail leaves a slight scratch. And suddenly, nothing happens.
I look to the other two and I say, well, shall I try stepping on that one?
We have the rear, so if anyone approaches from this direction, believe you me, we will hammer them into paste. Bralagar hefts his hammer.
Should something wrong happen, Lashanta, you will of course take over my duties at the temple.
Of course, I'll take that very seriously.
So fatalistic, Tashram. Come on, it's just some tiles. What's the worst that could happen?
I move forward to... Actually, is the tile big enough for you to stand on it fully, or only like one of your feet?
Oh, no, these tiles are large. We're talking about 3 feet square.
In that case, yes, I will hop onto the tile and wait.
And suddenly, nothing happens.
Wait, did you hear that? Nothing. Okay.
The sound of nothing happening is quite surprising sometimes, isn't it, Ash?
Yes.
I take out a piece of chalk, as I have too, and I make a little marking on the one I've just stepped on.
Beautiful, Tashram. You intending on becoming an artist on the streets of Waterdeep?
Well, to be honest, I, as a young boy, did enjoy a bit of sketching. It's an illuminating activity.
I give him a big thumbs up.
Life drawing, says the skull.
Oh, young death destroyer of worlds, or the contrary, landscapes.
Oh.
Nothing like the northern mountains, the spine of the world. It's a fascinating view up there.
No indiscreet etchings. Let's get on with it. On you go.
Well, hang on then. Do we believe I should continue with the prospect that this one is safe? Let us try, then, the next one nearest the door, but again, 1 square...
Well, I would suggest we all make similar strikes up ahead. If there's some kind of switching mechanism underneath, you never know, it might move to a tile that you already stepped on. So the worst thing we can do is all be careful. As much as that grates up against my skin to say so, I like to rush into a battle as much as the next warrior.
As he says this, I'm going to take out my flail and just tap 2 ahead of me.
You advance, tapping with your flail. You all advance. And the skull says, Death! Death comes for us all! Death!
I say death. Does that include yourself?
Well, I'm accompanying you. I've been promised that I'll be let out.
No, it was a joke. You said death comes for us all, and I implied then, does that mean death will come for you, Death?
Death has already come for me.
I fear that the skull is perhaps distracting us, potentially with intent. I glare at the skull.
Clearly, he was not a bard in life.
You suspect me of intent?
I will strike the next square, not in front of me, but again, skipping one, and then the next one, heading towards the door. Thwack.
Thwack. Thwack! Nothing happens.
I hop along one again.
Tap, tap.
Okay, you are now about 10 feet in front of the doors. Room's only 40 feet long.
What marvelous pace.
Anyone have very, very, very good eyes to check that door for traps, for locks, for...
I will, if I'm close enough, begin to investigate.
There's a barrel full of eyes, but right back.
No, I didn't bring them.
Well, I will do another tap. Again, seeing if I can now get to the... I don't want to go on the squares directly in front of the door, actually. I want to see if we can skip those. So just the ones just before that, if I can.
These doors are 30 feet high. Ish. Because they're metal-clad, ornate, double doors, closed. They have 2 pull rings, side by side, on their inside edges. And the reason I said about when I was talking about the height of the doors is they have an ornate surround, or frame, also of chased metal. Everything is in very nice repair, as in it doesn't look to be rusty, it looks to be gleaming. They've been freshly painted black recently. And yeah, you can see keyholes, one in each door.
I will attempt to lean over and try pushing the door or pulling the door, whichever seems to work.
Okay, you're leaning over and pulling on the left-hand door or the right-hand door?
Are there actually handles?
Yes,
Pull
rings.
Oh, there are handles to pull. Right, well, just before I do pause and go, shall I try and open the door, friends?
How lucky do you feel, Timoran?
Well, my luck hasn't been great today, but I feel pretty damn lucky. I'll pull open the door.
You'll pull at the door. Now, my keen dungeon masterly eye did not fail to notice Lash looking rather apprehensive. So, may I interpret that Lash is ready to move quickly?
Very quickly.
Okay. Can I have a d20 roll from everybody, please?
That was a 5.
A 14.
You also get a 14 from Bralagar.
The door is pulled upon. Both doors and their frame, as a rigid unit, topple forward. They look really ponderously heavy as they slam down, which is now you know why the freshly laid tiles. It must have shattered the tiles that were here before. Now, the only person who did not roll well was the person who was on the lookout for something like this. So, I am going to rule that she got out of the way. The other 2 people who would normally have been crushed to paste under the toppling several-ton heavy doors, particularly the one who pulled on the handle, they rolled well. So, when the doors started to topple, you sprang for the walls of the room, and you know that old saying, don't throw the ball at the other player? Throw the ball through them. Okay, with all the vigor in your veins, you tried to throw yourself through the side walls of this room. So you slam hard into the wall, turning your head at the last moment so you don't lose your noses, and you are totally winded by the heavy impact as your bodies slam into the walls, which means they are just clear of the doors when they go BOOM! And the floor tiles shatter, and dust rises, and you find yourselves peeling yourselves off the wall and staring at a now empty doorway. And the floor is now about a foot higher than it was before and is metal.
After a moment of picking myself off the floor, I dust myself off and say, "See? Really damn lucky!"
Indeed.
Tashram, I had no idea you had such strength in your right arm, but I can guess where it's from.
Oh. Well.
But maybe, Lash, I should have heeded you wanting to investigate first. Although, goodness me, Death Destroyer of Worlds, how the hell did the other person get out without destroying the room?
That's a good point. I look around the room. Was our friend the skull caught in the collapsing door?
Regrettably, the skull hurtled down the room, even outpacing Lashant, to get to the far end where the shaft was, and it's hanging there saying, "Well, that was fortunate. Nobody got hurt? Oh, I mean, isn't that wonderful?"
Sorry to disappoint you.
Again, companions, I have to say that while we have made a deal to escort this skull to the surface, I do not feel we should trust a single word from between his teeth.
Oh, he's all right.
You don't trust me?
But you are adorable. I mean fearsome and horrible death. And I admire that.
Oh, I'm adorable and you admire me? Hi. Will you take me with you? I'm probably going to need somewhere to live when we get out.
We will find you someplace nice, cozy, abattoir-like.
I don't take up too much space.
Lashantar, do you perhaps want to lead on? I do agree a little with Barrelgar that the skull might be trying to distract you with its charm.
By Bane's black balls.
Would be a short journey. Let's go.
And this time, I let Lashantar go forwards and kind of step from behind.
So, I'll dust myself off. You are all right?
Oh, as I said, Timora has blessed me. I mean, I could have. That was so close to death.
Tap him on the shoulder to see if it rubs off on me a little bit. Yes, Timora's luck. And step forward and see where are we now? We're gonna walk through.
Are you walking through that doorway?
Yes.
Opened up by the fall of the doors? Okay, the skull floats right above your left shoulder. Fine weather we're having. Oh, look, here's another room. This is a 30-foot square room, carved, walls, floor, and ceiling out of the solid bedrock. The floor is level, and the ceiling is about 10 feet above it. Your door enters the room in one corner, the room opening away from you, ahead and to your left. The room is damp, smells faintly of mildew, and has no furniture, nor other doors you can see, except a stone trapdoor in the center of the floor. A square flagstone that looks like the rest of the floor, except for the handhold hole in it 3 inches in from the midpoint of one edge. A long, fairly fresh smear of drying dark red blood leads to the trapdoor, coming from the direction of where you're standing.
Like they took out the trash. Hey, Death, dear.
Yes, pretty lady?
Do you know that door? Do you know anything?
This is the way on, and I know there's water down here somewhere.
Actually, not a bad idea. I've been a while since I've wet my whistle.
Does the room appear to have any sort of pipes or, for example, for water to suddenly come gushing in from somewhere?
I don't see any, but let's just check.
Well, I guess we'll go over and try to lift up that door. There's a handle to open it like a cabinet door.
There's a 3 inches in from one edge of this, it's a flat flagstone set in the floor, and 3 inches in from one edge is a rounded rectangular hole. So a hole, a slot, about 4 inches long and about an inch wide, with rounded ends, rather than squared off ends, that you could plunge your fingers or something else into.
Ooh, Lashanta, I have an idea. Don't put your finger in. Instead, let's put one of these in, and I take out one of those iron spikes I have. Just in case there's any, finger chopping off devices in there.
I'm glad that's where your mind went, Tashram. Go for it. Do it. Just don't get it stuck in there.
Noted. I will take the iron spike and sort of gently put it in one of those holes.
It slides in gently. You hear nothing except the faintest of grating noises as the edge of your spike momentarily touches the edge of the slot. The spike encounters no resistance. It's as if you are thrusting it into nothingness. All is dark. All is silent.
How many holes are there?
1.
Just the one?
Yes. About an inch wide, about 3 inches, 4 inches long, but rounded ends.
Well, I take it out to have an inspection. It looks like it's not been attacked or harmed in any way for a spike.
Spike looks the same as when you thrust it in.
Maybe use that as a pry bar?
Oh, yes, I hand the spike to Lashanta.
I see how this goes. I'll try to use that spike as a pry bar to open up that trapdoor.
Okay, you do, and
carefully.
The trapdoor is a hefty slab of stone. It's 2 inches thick, so you're lifting a fair, poundage here.
No need to help. I've got it.
Oh, good. Always lovely to see the Clerics of Timora putting their back into it. Do you need my assistance?
Absolutely.
Okay, I put my hand around the spike as well and help with the tilting up. If we're able to get the stone at least slightly shifted, I will try and put one of my wedges underneath it to help hook it up.
No problem, done. You have now wedged the stone in a semi-open position. And you are, both of you, both Lash and Barlagar, are of the opinion that beneath this stone is empty space.
Death, does this go anywhere? Well, you said this is the way out. All right.
Again, I've never found much success in life trusting skulls, especially ones that speak.
And here we are, trusting this one with our lives to get out.
Come on, let's finish lifting this stone up.
Yes. And then in you
Okay.
go.
You lift the stone. Now, the stone is lifting up as it's pivoting as if on a hinge, although it is in fact not attached, on this little lip or ledge at its far end from the hole. The rest of what lies underneath it, you see both ends of this slab lie on little ledges. And they are the only thing that stop it dropping down the emptiness in between. As in, when you lift that slab of stone, you can see that there is a shaft, or hole, or empty space, which is dark. Dark. Did I mention it was deep and dark? Presumably deep, because you can't see the bottom of it. Just underneath where the slab was. It's almost as if there's a shaft descending into the very core of the earth underneath this floor. And this shaft is in fact probably around, except where the two ledges are, the rest of it is sort of like 4 feet wide in the other direction. So there's ample space, as in plenty of room for your bodies to fit down the shaft.
Well, dear Death, be a dear and begin floating downwards.
Okay. And the skull floats out in front of you pirouettes in midair to face you, grins at you, it can hardly do anything else, begins to glow, and then theatrically descends slowly down into the shaft. And you all peer to see its glow descend. The shaft becomes round, or rather cylindrical, in shape, and descends straight, as far as you can tell, down, down, down. It's hard to judge when it gets past a certain point, but you sort of figure, okay, if I'm 6 feet tall-ish, and it's gone perhaps 8, perhaps 10 of my heights, down, down, and then it opens out into some sort of room or larger open space, and it descends still further, and the glow of the skull is reflecting back off of water. At least, you assume it's water. A black, inky black, placid sheet of liquid, or rather the surface of a placid pond, pool, swimming pool, whatever, of liquid.
I'm starting to think there was a secret exit somewhere for the person who was down here moments ago, unless they really did come into this room, jump down into a watery hole. Anyway, we have rope.
I'm beginning to think that our phantom crossbow shooter could have just been a trap that was concealed in the floor. We've no evidence that someone passed this way, or, for all we know that there are illusions in this labyrinth. They could have ran through a wall, for all we know. We certainly tried to when that door came down. I suggest paying it no heed until they show us the whites of their eyes.
Good plan to stay right here. So, the blood that's leading to this trapdoor, would I be able to tell if that was human or other in some medicine checky kind of way?
I mean, you could take a sample and cast a spell, you could lick it, you could just sort of peer at it, and by just sort of peering at it, it certainly looks human.
Is it fresh or dried?
It's almost dried, i.e., it is fairly fresh. Half a day.
Do you mind if I'll take my gloves off and dip my little finger in the blood. See if it reacts. I've never been afraid of losing a little digit.
Your little finger now has blood on it.
Mm-hmm. And I give it a sniff. And it smells metallic.
Smells like blood, yes.
Mm-hmm.
You've cut yourself in the past. You've bound bloody wounds that others had and laid hands on. So, to you, this seems like human blood.
I wipe it off on my doublet. Yes, that's blood, all right.
Well, I guess, shall we descend via rope? It seems the only way forward once again.
Well, as you two thieves of fortune have been so bold as to lead the way on the previous 2 chambers, I see it as only right that we draw straws for who goes first now.
The skull is rising slowly back up the shaft, and you see by its light as it does so that there's the usual handholds cut into the wall of the shaft.
Does the slick black ichor cover the handholds?
No. The shaft descends from your feet, from the floor that you're standing on, perhaps 60 feet, and then it ends. And there's about a 20-foot drop to this black, inky liquid. Oh, by the way, as the skull ascends towards you, you hear a blop down below, and you see, by the skull's illumination, there's now seem to be ripples. Slowly, ripples from a single source, slowly rolling across the formerly placid surface of this.
Death! Did you see anything or anyone down there?
Nope.
Of course not. I'm going to bundle some more of my rags. We've got plenty of oil. So let's see what happens. Just in case, let's just see what happens if we drop some flame down into this inky blackness. Admittedly, it does kind of cut off a way out if it does go up in flames.
Maybe not flambe us all. If
I'm holding a burning rag.
1 second, just one moment, just 1 second. And I'm going to take a tuppence and flip it into the hole and see what happens.
Down your coin plummets, bloop, into the liquid, and a fresh and much smaller set of ripples begins to spread outwards from where your coin vanished, intersecting with the rather larger ripples that are now subsiding, that are coming from the other direction. And then nothing else seems to happen, except that Bralagar is holding a flaming rag.
All right, Bralagar, on you go.
Well, I wave it out. I thought better of it. Despite the tempest, the symbol of tempest being a sword emblazoned on a burning background, and truly any man that likes life should enjoy a good fire, if there's something organic down there, something living or unliving, we've got I've got a pouch of provisions, and I'm not feeling hungry yet, so let's just see how it reacts to a little meat. So I throw some meat down there.
So you unwrap your pouch. Out comes the sausage. The sausage is pre-cut into 3 lengths, 2 ends and a middle. You're tossing an end or a middle?
I'll toss 2 pieces down just to get the water chummed up.
Okay. Down... You save the middle bit, and you toss both ends. You see the 2 ends of sausage tumble down the shaft, and then bloop bloop into the water, just about where the coins landed, and fresh and stronger ripples begin to... And then you hear a...
Well, we know we're going to have a fight on our hands.
Well, maybe not. But we've got to get down there at least. Only way out is through, right? So let's get on with it, I guess. And I start hand-holding down. And I'll cast Speak with Animals.
You're going to cast Speak with Animals before you start climbing, and then you're going to climb down the shaft. The skull is floating down with you, right above your left shoulder, and it says, "So, have you noticed the price of potatoes has gone up? 2 coppers. The pound."
I was not aware of that. Death, thank you. I guess, will they be abyssal potatoes? Because regular potatoes, I think, what am I saying? And I'll turn my attention to the water as I'm climbing and Speak with Animals, kind of go, "Hello? I saw your ripples, and if you're down there with young ones, we don't want to harm you or disturb you or really..."
Hungry, very hungry. We are hungries.
Me too, actually. Me too. I am also hungry. You sound adorable.
Yes, we are adorable. If you can get past the slime.
The slime? How
Eels are slimy.
Oh, you are, but you're great swimmers.
That's true. It's our most redeeming feature.
And your voice. I bet you'd have a lovely singing voice as well.
Some enchanted evening.
There it is.
You will meet a stranger.
When Lashantar is using this spell, is she still speaking in a language, I guess, Jondathan, that we would understand? Or is she, I guess, chirping, and whatever an eel does?
You can understand both her, but you can't hear the eels. Only she can hear the eels.
Lashantar, ask how many there are.
Good idea. Two questions. One, you said we have to get past the slime to which door? Where's the door?
Oh, if you wish to eat us, we are all slimy. So I'm suggesting we're not good eating for you. Most humans can't get past the slime. It makes them gag. It is like, I think one of them once told me it's like eating a bucket of snot. So, it's not nice. Now, as for the way on, when you get down here, you will see there is a door. It is the only obvious way on. It is guarded, but doors down here usually are. We are not the guardians, we are the cleanup crew.
That's not a very fun job unless it feeds you. How many are you?
1, 2, many. 1 too many. 1, 2, 1, 2. Let me count the ways I love thee. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Did you eat a bard last? Just a question. Never mind.
What is a bard?
Gristly, probably overdone. Die dramatically.
Yes. Yes.
1, 2. I saw 2 ripples.
Okay.
And I'll just relay all that information up.
Well, I start climbing above you. You say this is like, well, hang on. If we give them some more food, then will they be friendly with us? I can give them more food. I have rations.
My friends up there say they'll give you more food if you'll let us pass and unharmed.
Yes, give us sausage. We like sausage.
I once knew a young man from Kalamshan who,
like sausage.
Suddenly speaking my language, Eels. I see, I feel like, through Bralagar's head right now, he's thinking, how difficult would it be to set up a fishing line and try and hook these eels out? But given that I'm at the top of a very long shaft, I don't think it's going to be terribly practical. I'm very much favouring dive bombing and swinging my hammer like buggery to try and knock these eels out of the water.
My eel friends, do you to get across this water, do people use a boat?
No.
They just have to swim with you.
Well, it's not swim so much as walk.
Oh, good.
Taking care to avoid all the snappy things.
All the snappy things. Yeah, I don't want to disturb any snappy things, that's true.
Then don't step on them.
Don't step on the snappy things, they say.
That's a lesson to live by. Let's see. I've got some hooks. Maybe I can, if I climb down far enough, I can start hammering them into the walls. We can make our way down that passage without even touching the water. It might take some time, but we've got some time. So, a couple of hooks at a time, and...
You don't think you could do that, actually? Because when your shaft ends, you've got a 20-foot drop.
Indeed.
And I don't think your shaft is sufficiently close to any walls.
Well, in that case...
Oh, I see, yeah.
Yeah, your shaft just comes down, and presumably into the ceiling of this room. Then there's a 20-foot drop, at least 20 feet to the water. And there are sidewalls out there somewhere, and these eels, if you can trust an eel, and the skull, if you can trust a skull, have told you that there's an obvious visible door to go onwards, but all you know is that there's some sort of liquid there your stuff has vanished into, and there are snappy things you've been warned about. And you've also been warned that the door is guarded.
So I'm thinking we need to command these eels. We all have access to that spell through our connections to our gods. At the very least, we can command them to slope aside. And so if there are snappy things that aren't eels, we might be able to at least fare a little better.
Does command work on non-humanoids?
I believe so. I can't say I've ever tried to use command on an eel before. But if we pray earnestly enough...
Then the gods will lead the way, I agree. Lashanta, maybe you should do it as you're already speaking with them. An animal, just saying.
Yes, you lead the way, Lashanta.
60 feet ahead of you. Just saying. Come on down. With Timora's luck, we will get our eel on.
You've been going down the shaft. You have reached the end of the 60 feet, hanging from the last handhold, and what you can see by the illumination of the skull is that there is a large room. It looks to be about 70 feet square. And it looks like your shaft is at one end of it, or sort of the midpoint of one wall, but about 10 feet out from the wall. And across the room from you, like the opposite wall from the wall you are closest to, you see stone steps rising up out of this liquid, which is presumably water, because the reek of mildew is strong and the reek of stagnant water is strong in this room. It's, of course, damp, but across the room from you, stone steps lead up out of the water to a 10-foot square stone dais in front of a closed, massive, metal-plated door. Not as tall as the double doors that fell down in the room above you, but massive, metal-plated nonetheless. In the wall to the right of the door is a dark horizontal slot about 6 feet long and 4 inches or so high, and you hear a wet plop and see a small ring spreading across the water from some now sunken disturbance in the far corner. And then in your head you hear one of the eels go, "Hello, we see you."
Hi. Hello. I wish I could see you too.
And there's a fresh plop, and the head of an eel pops up out of the water, sort of below your feet. And it says, "Hi, beware snappy things." And then it bloop, back down on, and there are ripples spreading out from where it had been.
Thank you for that advice. That's very good advice. And you are very handsome, eel.
Bloop! Its head comes up again. "Ah, really? You think so?" And it turns from one side to the other as if showing off. You see its slime glistening.
For all the rest of our rations and sausage, there's 3 of us, and this and the skull, who won't harm you at all. But he talks a good game, so pay no mind. Could you, as we go, could you pop your head up and show us where the snappy things are? And then we'll give you all the rest of our rations and sausage.
Ooh. Me likey that deal. Okay. Throw the rations.
Oh, a ration bit for every snappy bit. A ration bit
okay.
every snappy bit.
Fair enough. Yes. Okay. So it moves about 4 inches to one side and says, "One snappy thing is right here." And its head pops up, and then it goes back down again. And you see where the ripples are spreading from. And then it presumably moves under the water about
Thank you.
3 feet that way, and then pops up and says, "And there's another one here."
Okay, and I'll start tossing some ration bits.
Shall we dive in now and quickly so we can follow the route there?
Yeah, quickly.
All going down the shaft?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And at the end of the shaft, you encounter Lash hanging in your way. Lash, are you going to drop from where you are now?
All right. I'm coming in Don't eat me. More rations for you, okay? Thank you so much. You are a great helper. Snacks are incoming. Not the people. We have them. And I'll drop. Oh, God.
Okay, you drop, making sure your legs are not going down where the eel popped up.
Right.
And you land hard on your heels on what feels like a smooth stone floor. About after the splashing has subsided, because you land with a terrible splash, the water seems to be about knee deep. And there was a momentary roiling of the water that your arrival created. You set up a sort of giant ripple tidal wave in both directions, and you briefly caught sight of what a snappy thing is. It looks to be a leg-hold bear trap. You know, just like in the cartoons, you know, those big toothed metal arcs, two of them, with a treadle in the middle that if you stepped on the treadle, whack, it would go on your ankle or leg or calf or, you know. And you have landed with your feet adroitly positioned so that you did not land on a snappy thing. But you get the feeling that what the eel was communicating to you is that underneath this water, the stone floor of the chamber is festooned with snappy things. This whole room, where the underwater part of it, which is all of it except that the stone steps coming up out of the dais, is festooned with snappy things.
Bear traps. So, they're kind of everywhere, gents. So step where I step.
Boop! There's an eel head sticking up out of the water. There's one right here.
Hi!
Hi.
Good eel. And I'll throw a bit of ration. I promised all our rations.
Ah.
And I shall jump down to join the Shanta. As will, I assume, Berelgar?
Mm-hmm. I am falling elegantly.
Falling elegantly. Okay, so I am going to assume that the Lash and Tashram both carefully move aside in turn so that the next arrival does not arrive on top of their heads. And so Barlagar is now standing on his booted feet wetly. And all three of you are down in the room. As you all stand there looking, exchanging glances and looking at all the eels that are popping enthusiastically up to eat all the rations, you hear a clack, clack, clack. And suddenly, out of that slot beside the door in the end wall, crossbow bolts are whistling at you. Heavy war quarrels.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we played The Mystery of the Unicorn Chamber for Dungeons & Dragons and the Forgotten Realms. Our Dungeon Master was none other than the creator of the Forgotten Realms himself, Ed Greenwood, and we were also joined by the Gentleman Gamer Matthew Dawkins and Liisa Lee. The music was created by Ager Sonis and was used with permission from their label, Cryo Chamber. We also used music from Baldur's Gate 1 and Baldur's Gate 2 by Michael Honig, used with permission from Beamdog. If you aren't already playing the enhanced editions of these classic games, now is a great time to begin. We would also like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, and David for their generous support. And we'd of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult Divinity Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and see you soon again.